If you want to get more closely acquainted with Vergil's Doppelganger mechanic, I strongly encourage you to watch my first video, which is basically this Doppelganger guide, where I go very in-depth into the basics, the rudimentary aspects of this mechanic. The link to that video will be in the description below, so yeah. So first things first, before I start talking about the combo and the mistakes you can make and all that jazz, I should preface this by talking about my controls. So I play this game using my mouse and keyboard. Yeah, really. Blasphemy, I know. But I think that if you've ever played a single game on your PC using a mouse and a keyboard, these controls should be familiar to you. I think they're very easy to grasp. So, just like with almost every game ever, WASD are the keys you use for movement. So W is forward, S is backwards, A is left, D is right. This is the equivalent to you using your analog stick for moving, like tilting it left, right, forward, backward. That's basically what I use. So again, W forward, S backward, A left, D right. Obviously, just like in every game ever, space is jump. So I jump using space. The left mouse button, unsurprisingly, is the attack button. Also, like in every game ever. The right mouse button is the button I use for Mirage Blades. So all my Mirage Blade attacks are mapped to the right button. The right mouse button, I mean. So that's basically it for these basic controls. Shift is the button I use for locking on. So when I lock on, I press Shift. In this game, you gotta be locked on for just about any attack ever. Only under specific circumstances should you release the lock on. But yeah, basically lock on is Shift in my case. So next up, we've got the trick action. So, trick up, down, air trick, all that stuff. I use E. So E is the button I use. So if I press E without locking on, that is trick up. If I press E while locking on, like Shift plus E, that is air trick, and I teleport. If I press back to forward plus E, or S plus W plus E, that is trick down. So like I said, E is the trick action. That's the button I use for tricking, basically. R is the button I use for taunting. So that's the taunt button. Air taunts, lock-on taunts, doesn't matter. R is the button you gotta press for taunting. Moving on, I have F, and F is the button I use to charge my Sindel trigger. So I press and hold F, then I release it, and I basically go into my Sindel trigger mode. Moving on, we also have 1 and 2. So 1 is the button for changing the weapon to the right. So my layout is as follows. I use the default layout for my weapons, my arsenal. So it goes Yamato, Beowulf, Mirage Edge. So if I have the Yamato equipped and I press 1, it will switch to Beowulf, which is the weapon to its right. And if I press 1 again, it will switch from Beowulf to the Mirage Edge, which is the weapon to its right. If I have the Yamato equipped, and I press 2, it will go to the weapon that's on its left, and that is the Mirage Edge. If I press 2 again, it will switch to Beowulf. If I press 2 again, it will once again switch to the Yamato. So that's how this works. We're switching weapons left and right. That's how it works. Moving on, we have the Doppelganger buttons. So the buttons are as follows. X is the slow Doppelganger. This is a Doppelganger that is kind of delayed by about, I don't know, half a second or something. So that's X. C is the normal Doppelganger. He is slightly delayed, not by half a second, but like he's just not completely in sync with you. So that's C. And V is the haste version of the doppelganger who is completely in sync with you, meaning that he immediately reacts to your commands and he mimics your inputs, he registers them immediately and simply reacts to them. So, yeah. I deactivate the doppelganger by pressing Z. So that's how I do it. And, you know, that's pretty much that. Those are all the controls, really. There are some other things like, you know, using CTRL to basically lock onto multiple targets, or, I mean, switch the lock on, stuff like that, or using the arrows, using, you know, it just doesn't matter, really. These are the main things that you will need. So, if I say, I'm pressing D plus left mouse button, that means that I'm pressing right plus attack button. If I say I'm pressing S plus W plus left mouse button, that means I'm pressing back to forward plus attack button. Kind of like tilting your analog stick back and then forward and then pressing the attack button. So that's how it works. If I say back to forward plus right mouse button, or S plus W plus right mouse button, that is basically back to forward plus your Mirage Blade button. So heavy rain blades in my case. But don't worry, most of the time, like 99% of the time, I'll say right plus attack button instead of D plus left mouse button, because I feel like that's more universally comprehensible, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, these are my controls, and now let's talk about the actual combo. Alright, so now we got the Railroad combo, and this is a combo by Romanov, or Romanov, I don't really know. And he's an incredible DMC5 player. He's made some insane Dante combos. I mean, of course, he's made some insane Vergil combos and Nero combos as well, but, you know, I mostly know him for his Dante combos. And I didn't completely adhere to how he did this combo in that I did not use Trick Down after using, you know, Starfall, because, you know, he kind of used Trick Up, then he used... Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'll explain that later. So, yeah. I actually updated this combo, as you can see here. Basically, after using Starfall, I don't immediately use Hell on Earth. Instead, I use Starfall, then I start charging up Dragon Breaker with Beowulf, and then, once the enemy has lost enough altitude, I do Dragon Breaker, then I immediately Trig Down, I use the Heavy Rain Blades, and then I charge Hell on Earth. So, it's the reason I did that was because I noticed that I hadn't used Dragon Breaker in any of my combos, and it's a pretty cool move. So, yeah, this is really easy. Like, you just use Starfall, you use Dragon Breaker, you use Trig Down, Heavy Rain Blades, Hell on Earth. It's really simple. There's not, like, trust me, this is not hard at all. It just makes the combo look better. But if you don't want that, you could do the old-fashioned way, like just use Starfall and then use Hell on Earth, and that's it. So, yeah, it's up to you. So you need to have the Mirage Judge equipped, and you basically press right plus attack button without holding the attack button. So you use High Time 1. This will only launch the enemy into the air, but not Vergil himself. So you use High Time 1, which is right plus attack button. Now you immediately switch to the Yamato, and you press right, and you hold the attack button. So you'll use upper/2. This will launch Vergil into the air alongside the enemy. Now you once again switch to the Mirage Judge, and you use Air Stinger. And now, immediately, like, you don't waste a second, like, as soon as you, like, hit the air with Air Stinger, you immediately Trig Down, and you basically use High Time 2 this time. So you press the left, and you hold the attack button. So this will launch Vergil into the air as well. After this, you use Air Trick to teleport to the enemy. So now that you've used Air Trick to teleport to the enemy, you use Air Stinger, and now you switch to Beowulf, and you wait a little. You don't wait too long, but you don't want to use Starfall immediately. So you wait just a little bit. You need to know exactly how long, not too long, and then you use Starfall with Beowulf. Then you use Lunar Phase. Now you switch to the Yamato, and you use Rapid Slash, and you immediately cancel Rapid Slash by summoning the haste version of the Doppelganger. You need to summon this Doppelganger and cancel Rapid Slash almost as soon as you slash through the enemy, because if you wait too long, there will be problems that I'll explain later. So now that you summon the haste version of the Doppelganger, you use Trick Up, you use Air Stinger, which is right plus attack button, but you gotta hold the attack button. So you use Trick Up and you switch to the Mirage Edge, and you press right and you hold the attack button for a very long time. This will cause Vergil to use Air Stinger, but his Doppelganger, who can only use the Yamato, that will cause him to use Rising Star. And now you keep holding the attack button, and when your Mirage Edge starts glowing, you release it, and Vergil will do Round Trip. Now you switch to Beowulf, and you use Starfall, and you use Hell on Earth. And that is the end of the combo. Like I said, I updated the combo so that, I didn't just use Hell on Earth. After using Starfall, I did all of this. I started charging Dragon Breaker. Then, when I hit the enemy with Dragon Breaker, I immediately used Trig Down, used the Heavy Rain Blades to freeze the enemy in time, and then I used Hell on Earth. So that's the updated version of the combo. But anyway, let me get back to this part of the combo. So after you use Trick Up, alright? Let's explain this in detail. Alright, so let me explain. So Vergil is on the left side, and his Doppelganger is also on the left side. There are two major differences and two things we gotta factor in. Vergil is in midair, he's on the left, and he has the Mirage Edge equipped. His Doppelganger is also on the left, but he is on the ground, and he has the Yamato equipped, because as we already know, the Doppelganger can only use the Yamato. He can't use Beowulf or the Mirage Edge. So, if we press D plus left mouse button in midair with Vergil, with the Mirage Edge equipped, right plus attack button, that is Air Stinger. So right plus attack button in midair with the Mirage Edge is Air Stinger. But Vergil's Doppelganger, who is on the ground and has the Yamato, will copy that input. He will copy right plus attack button, or D plus left mouse button, but since he has the Yamato, he will use Rapid Slash, because right plus attack button with the Yamato on the ground is basically Rapid Slash. But with the Mirage Edge in midair, it's Air Stinger. But that's not what we want. We want his Doppelganger to use Rising Star and not Rapid Slash. And as we already know, Rapid Slash is right plus attack button, or D plus left mouse button. But Rising Star is right plus holding the attack button, or holding the left mouse button, basically. So what we want to do is, we have the Mirage Edge equipped, Vergil is in midair, so we press right and we hold the attack button. So we press D and we hold the left mouse button. And now Vergil's Doppelganger, who is on the ground, will mimic those commands, and he will do Rising Star with the Yamato. But it's not enough to hold the attack button, you gotta hold it until the Mirage Edge starts glowing. And then you release the attack button, and Vergil will release Round Trip. So that's what you gotta do. Because Round Trip is activated by holding the attack button for for more than 2 seconds, basically. Like here you can see how I basically, I pressed right and I held the attack button, and I did Air Stinger, and Vergil's Doppelganger did Rising Star, but I released the attack button as soon as Vergil's Doppelganger was done using Rising Star. And because of this, I couldn't release Round Trip. So to do Rising Star, you need to hold the attack button for half a second. But to do Round Trip, you need to hold it for 1.5 seconds. So what happened here essentially was I held the attack button for a little while just so that Vergil's Doppelganger could do Rising Star, but I released the attack button immediately after, before the Mirage Edge could start glowing. You're supposed to wait for the Mirage Edge to start glowing, and then you release the attack button so that you could launch Round Trip. So now let's discuss some mistakes that, come with this combo. Alright, so one of the mistakes you can make is if you don't Trig Down fast enough after using Air Stinger. So you're supposed to use Trig Down immediately after stabbing the air with Air Stinger, but you're not supposed to wait. So look at what happens when you wait. I should have Trig Down at this point, but I didn't. So what happened was, as you can see, Starfall didn't reach the enemy as a result. So you're supposed to basically use Trig Down as soon as you use Air Stinger, right? Otherwise, the enemy will lose too much altitude when you hit them with high time, and then Starfall won't connect properly. So, yeah. Of course, if you wait too long, that is also a bad thing. Now, if you don't wait long enough after using Air Stinger, you use Starfall immediately after using Air Stinger, this will happen. But waiting too long will also cause it not to work. So you gotta estimate it. You really gotta know exactly how long to wait. Like, you use Air Stinger, and then you wait just a little bit, and then you use Starfall. You need to know exactly how long to wait. Now, in the original combo, this isn't what Romano did. What he did, he did something else. He used Air Stinger, and then he canceled the Air Stinger by using Enemy Step. Then he let go of the lock-on, and he used Trick Up, and then he used Starfall, and then he used Trick Down to get closer to the enemy, and then he used Lunar Phase. This is a lot of work for a combo like this, so I came up with this idea to simply wait a little after using Air Stinger and then using Starfall. So I think that's a lot easier. So, because if you use his method, you can make a lot of mistakes. Like, it's not enough to simply Enemy Step. You got to use Trick Up, and then you got to use Trick Down, and that's simply a lot of work. So the bottom line is just use Air Stinger and wait just a little bit before using Starfall. So that's it. Here you can see how I wasn't high up enough in the air, so after throwing the round trip, I couldn't use Starfall because, I hit the ground because my altitude was so low. And, you can see it on the screen, you can see what I mean. And there's a reason why this happened. The reason this happened was because I didn't cancel Rapid Slash early enough. So you're supposed to, use Rapid Slash and then summon the haste version of the Doppelganger. You summon the Doppelganger at around this distance. But as you can see here, I gained a lot of distance with Rapid Slash. So when I summoned the Doppelganger and used Air Stinger, yeah, this happened. So this is the reason. Here you can see how the enemy was already on the ground before I could start Lunar Phase. And the reason this happened was because I didn't graze the enemy with Starfall. You gotta graze them, otherwise they'll just simply, fall to the ground. You need this graze to basically stop them from losing altitude temporarily. Of course, if you use the slow version of the Doppelganger, he will take longer to use Rising Star. So you want to use the haste version of the Doppelganger, who is completely in sync with you, so he could immediately use Rising Star. Here you can see how I used Air Trick instead of Trick Up, so I didn't release the lock-on. Instead of, letting go of the lock-on and pressing E, I pressed Shift plus E, so I used the Air Trick, and as a result, the Doppelganger teleported with me. And as you already know, when you have the Doppelganger active, if you use Trick Up or Trick Down, the Doppelganger won't react. But if you use Air Trick, the Doppelganger will teleport with you to the enemy. So that's worth keeping in mind. And the most annoying mistake, and, no combo is safe from this, well, if you use an ultimate to finish your combo, there's a chance this might happen. Here, I use Air Trick instead of Hell on Earth. And this is something that happens a lot with combos. With this combo, it doesn't happen nearly as often, but with the Pit combo, the Blue combo, the Void combo, Market combo, Moist combo, this happens all the time. You use the ultimate. You press, W plus E plus left mouse button, or forward plus trick plus attack button. But the game doesn't register anything, and it only registers you pressing lock on plus trick button. And as a result, Vergil just teleports to the enemy. This is incredibly vexing, but I'm not really going to get into that right now. As aggravating as it may be, it's not a very common occurrence, so yeah.